All right, we're starting our notes on color. The colors of the objects depend on the color of the light that illuminates them. Color is in the eye of the beholder and is provoked by the frequencies of light emitted or reflected by things. We see red in a rose when light of certain frequencies reaches our eyes. Many organisms, including people with defective color vision, see no red in a rose. By passing a narrow beam of sunlight through a triangular-shaped prism glass, Newton showed that sunlight is composed of a mixture of all the colors of a rainbow. This is where you get your color spectrum. Isaac Newton was the first to make a systematic study of color. Passing sunlight through a prism, Newton showed that the sunlight is composed of a mixture of all the colors of the rainbow. Newton called this spread of colors a spectrum and noted that the colors were formed in the order red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. Sunlight is an example of what is called white light. White light is a combination of all colors. Under white light, white objects appear white and colored objects appear in their individual colors. Newton showed that the colors in the spectrum were a property not of the prism, but out of white light itself. Combine the colors with a second prism produce white light again. In other words, all the colors, one on top of the other, combine to produce white light. White is not a color, but a combination of all colors. This is a very key part of what we're talking about with color. So all light together forms white. When sunlight passes through a prism, it separates into a spectrum of all the colors of the rainbow. So here we have a prism. As the light comes through it, it's breaking down all the light into its visible frequencies. Black is similarly not a color, but is the absence of light. Objects appear black when they absorb light of all visible frequencies. Even a polished surface may look black under some conditions. Highly polished razor blades stacked together and viewed on end appear black. The light that gets between the closely spaced edges of the black blades gets trapped and is absorbed after being reflected many times. Black objects that you can see do not absorb all light that falls on them, for there is always some reflection at the surface. If not, you wouldn't be able to see them. You can only see the colors that are reflected to you. How did Isaac Newton show that sunlight is composed of a mixture of all colors of the rainbow? The color of an opaque object is the color of the light that is reflected. The colors of most objects around you are due to the way the objects reflect light. The color of an opaque object is the color of the light it reflects. Light reflects from objects similar to the way sound reflects from a tuning fork when set into vibration. We can think of atoms and molecules as three-dimensional tuning forks. Electrons behave as tiny oscillators in orbits around the nuclei. Electrons can be forced temporarily into larger orbits by the vibration of electromagnetic waves. Like tuning forks, once excited to more vigorous motion, electrons send out their own energy waves in all directions. Different materials have different natural frequencies for absorbing and emitting radiation. At the resonant frequencies, where the amplitudes of oscillation are large, light is absorbed. At frequencies below and above the resonant frequencies, light is emitted. If the material is transparent, the re-emitted light passes through it. If the material is opaque, the light passes back into the medium from which it came. This is reflection. Most materials absorb light of some frequencies and reflect the rest. If a material absorbs light of most visible frequencies and reflects red, for example, the material appears red. So you can only see the color of what is reflected. Everything else would be absorbed. So this square reflects all colors illuminating it. In sunlight, it is white. When illuminated with blue light, it would appear blue. This square absorbs all colors illuminating it. In sunlight, it is warmer than the white square because it absorbs all the energy from the light. When white light falls on a flower, light of some frequencies is absorbed by the cells in the flower and some light is reflected. Cells that contain chlorophyll absorb light of most frequencies and reflect the green part, so they appear green. The petals of a rose, on the other hand, reflect primarily red light with a lesser amount of blue. Petals of most yellow flowers, such as daffodils, reflect red and green as well as yellow. Yellow daffodils reflect light of a broad band of frequencies. The reflected colors of most objects are not pure single frequency colors, but a spread of frequencies. So something yellow, for example, may be a mixture of colors without blue and violet, or it can be red and green together. All right, the color of an object depends on the kind of light used. A candle flame is deficient in higher frequencies. It emits a yellowish light. Things look yellowish in a candle. An incandescent light emits lights of all the visible frequencies, but is richer towards the lower frequencies, enhancing the reds. A fluorescent lamp is richer in the higher frequencies, so blues are enhanced when illuminated with fluorescent lamps. When red light shines on a rose, why do the leaves become warmer than the petals? The leaves absorb rather than reflect red light, so the leaves become warmer. Because since the red light is hitting it and the leaves are green, they're not going to reflect the red light, they're just going to absorb it, so they're going to become warmer. When green light shines on a rose, why do the petals look black? The petals absorb rather than reflect the green light, so they appear to have no color, which is black. If it absorbs it and doesn't reflect anything, it will look black. What determines the color of an opaque object? The color of a transparent object is the color of the light it transmits. A red piece of glass appears red because it absorbs all the colors that compose white light except red, which it transmits. A blue piece of glass appears blue because it transmits primarily blue and absorbs the other colors that illuminate it. The blue glass transmits only energy of the frequency of blue light. Energy of the other frequencies is absorbed and warms the glass. Here you see this is all the colors of the spectrum hitting the glass. Everything is absorbed except for blue light. Blue light gets through, and that's how you see blue. The material in the glass that selectively absorbs color light is known as a pigment. Electrons in the pigment atoms selectively absorb light of certain frequencies in the illuminating light. Other frequencies are re-emitted from atom to atom in the glass. Ordinary window glass is colorless because it transmits lights of all visible frequencies equally well. What determines the color of a transparent object? Yellow-green light is the brightest part of sunlight. White light from the sun is composed of all the visible frequencies. The brightness of solar frequencies is uneven. The lowest frequencies of sunlight in the red region are not as bright as those in the middle range, the yellow and green region. Humans evolved in the presence of sunlight, and we are most sensitive to yellow-green. The blue portion of sunlight is not as bright, and the violet portion is even less bright. The radiation curve of sunlight is a graph of brightness versus frequency. Sunlight is brightest in the yellow-green region. Which visible frequencies make up the brightest part of sunlight? You can make almost any color at all by overlapping red, green, and blue light and adjusting the brightness of each color of light. This is a big part of color. Light of all visible frequencies mixed together produces white. White also results from the combination of only red, green, and blue. These are going to be our base, our primary colors of light. Red, green light alone overlap to form yellow. Red and blue light alone produce the bluish-red color called magenta. Green and blue light alone produce the greenish-blue color called cyan. When red light, green light, and blue light of equal brightnesses are projected on the white screen, the overlapping area appears different colors. So you have you have a blue, red, and green light, and you can see right here and right here what they look like when they overlap one another. So you have the blue light, the red light, and the green light, and so red and green make yellow, red and blue make magenta, and then blue and green make cyan. The frequencies of white light can be divided into three regions: the lower frequency, red end, the middle frequency, green part, and the higher frequency, blue end. Low and middle frequencies combine to form yellow to the human eye. The middle and high frequencies appear greenish-blue, cyan, sorry, not the pepper. The low and high frequencies appear bluish-red, the magenta. The low frequency, middle frequency, and high frequency parts of white light appear red, green, and blue to the human eye. Red plus green equals yellow, red plus blue equals magenta, green plus blue equals cyan, as you see how these go. This amazing phenomena is due to the way that human eyes work. The three colors do not have to be red, green, and blue, although these three produce the highest number of different colors. For this reason, red, green, and blue are called the additive primary colors. Important to know. Color television is based on the ability of the human eye to see combinations of three colors as a variety of different colors. The picture is made up of tiny spots, each less than a millimeter across. When the screen is lit, some of the spots are red, some are green, and some are blue. At a distance, the mixture of these colors provides a complete range of colors plus white. What color does red light plus blue light make? Magenta. Which three visible frequencies combine to form almost any color? I don't know. We just talked about it. Complementary colors. Every color has some complementary color that when added to it will produce white light. Key concept. When two of the three additive primary colors are combined, red plus green equals yellow. We just talked about that. Red plus blue is magenta. Blue plus green is cyan. When we add in the third color, you get white. So yellow plus blue will give you white because it's a third of the primary colors. Magenta plus green will give you white. Cyan plus red will give you white. When two colors are added together to produce white, they are called complementary colors. So when you add one of the yellow, magenta, or cyan to the other color, you get white. That's called creating complementary colors. Yellow and blue are complementary because yellow is the combination of red and green, and then you add the blue in there. By similar reasoning, we see that magenta and green are complementary colors as cyan and red. 6 blocks and their shadows appear as different colors depending on the color of light that illuminates them. The blocks are lit by white light. So by white light, you see this. B, the blocks are lit by a red light from the right and a green light from the left. They look like different colors. The blocks are lit by just a blue light, and look and see what you got. The blocks are lit by blue light from the left and red light from the right. Pretty nifty. Begin with white light and subtract some color from it. The color appears to be the complement of one subtracted. Some of the light incident upon an object is absorbed. The part that is absorbed is in effect subtracted from the incident light. For example, if white light falls on a pigment that absorbs red light, the light reflected appears cyan. Subtract a color from white light and you have the complementary color. When light passes through all three transparencies, light of all frequencies is blocked, subtracted, and we have black. So you have red, green, and you have all three colors here. You have the cyan, magenta, and yellow. Well, if you put all of them together, you're going to get everything is absorbed, so you get black. What color does white light minus yellow light appear? That would be blue. What color does white light minus green light appear? Magenta. What happens when you combine any color of its complementary color? We just talked about this. This is the end of part 1 of the notes.